Imagine a war so short you could brew a cup of tea and miss the whole thing. That's how long the Anglo-Zanzibar War lasted, a mere 38 minutes. This makes it the shortest war in recorded history, a curious footnote in the annals of warfare. But despite its fleeting duration, this conflict between the mighty British Empire and the small island nation of Zanzibar offers a fascinating glimpse into a turbulent period of colonial history. It was a clash of empires, a power struggle for control of trade routes and resources. Zanzibar, now part of Tanzania, was once a powerful sultanate. Its strategic location on the East African coast made it a hub for the spice trade, particularly cloves. This attracted the attention of the British Empire, always eager to expand its influence and secure valuable resources. For years, Britain and Zanzibar had maintained a relatively peaceful coexistence. However, beneath the surface, tensions simmered. The British saw Zanzibar as a key to controlling the East African coast. They wanted a pliant ruler who would cooperate with their imperial ambitions. The Anglo-Zanzibar War was sparked by the sudden and unexpected death of Sultan Hamad bin Thuwaini in 1896. His passing marked the beginning of a turbulent period in Zanzibar's history. Hamad had been a pro-British ruler, amenable to their interests in the region. His policies and decisions were largely influenced by British colonial powers, ensuring a relatively stable relationship between Zanzibar and Britain. His death created a significant power vacuum and a fierce struggle for succession ensued. Various factions within the royal court vied for control, each with their own ambitions and agendas. Enter Khalid bin Bargash, a cousin of the deceased sultan. Khalid saw an opportunity to seize power and quickly moved to assert his claim to the throne. Khalid, unlike Hamad, was seen as hostile to British interests. His ascension to power was not welcomed by the British, who feared that their influence in the region would be diminished. He seized power in a coup, defying a treaty with Britain that required the Sultan to obtain British approval before assuming the throne. This bold move was a clear indication of Khalid's intentions to rule independently of British control. This act of defiance was seen as a direct challenge to British authority. The British, determined to maintain their dominance in the region, prepared to respond with force, setting the stage for the shortest war in history. The British, outraged by Khalid's actions, demanded his immediate surrender. They were determined to maintain their influence and control over the region, and Khalid's defiance was seen as a direct challenge to their authority. They assembled a formidable naval force in the harbor of Zanzibar City, the island's capital, ready to use force if necessary. The sight of the warships was meant to intimidate and send a clear message of British dominance. Khalid, however, refused to back down. He was determined to assert his claim to the throne and resist British interference. He fortified his palace and rallied his troops, numbering around 1,000 strong. These men were prepared to defend their leader and their homeland against the impending British assault. At 9 a.m. on August 27, 1896, the British issued an ultimatum surrender by 9:02 a.m. or face the consequences. The ultimatum was a final attempt to avoid bloodshed, but it also underscored the British resolve. The clock ticked down, the tension palpable. Every second that passed brought the two sides closer to an inevitable clash. When the deadline passed, the British sprung into action, unleashing the full might of their naval superiority. The bombardment was swift and devastating, marking the beginning of what would be recorded as the shortest war in history. Section 5, 38 Minutes of Fury, a naval bombardment. This chapter delves into one of the shortest wars in history, a conflict that lasted less than an hour, but left a lasting impact. The British warships opened fire on the Sultan's palace, reducing it to rubble in a matter of minutes. The bombardment was relentless, with cannonballs and shells tearing through the structure, leaving nothing but debris in their wake. Explosions rocked the harbor as shells rained down on the Zanzibari defenses. The air was thick with smoke, and the sound of gunfire echoed across the waters, creating a scene of utter chaos and destruction. Khalid's troops, outmatched and outgunned, put up a brief but futile resistance. Despite their bravery, they were no match for the superior firepower and advanced weaponry of the British forces. The British also targeted Zanzibari artillery batteries along the coast, silencing them one by one. Each explosion marked the end of another defensive position, further weakening Khalid's already fragile hold on power. The Sultan's navy, consisting of a single antiquated wooden sloop, was swiftly sunk. The vessel stood no chance against the modern warships, and it quickly disappeared beneath the waves. The overwhelming firepower of the British left Khalid with no chance of victory. The battle was over almost as soon as it began, a stark reminder of the might of the British Empire and the futility of resistance. Section 6. Raising the Flag of Surrender. The bombardment lasted just 38 minutes but proved decisively one-sided. The Sultan's palace was destroyed, his defenses shattered. Realizing the futility of further resistance, Khalid fled to the German consulate, seeking asylum. With their leader gone, the remaining Zanzibari forces surrendered. The British had achieved a swift and decisive victory, albeit a short-lived one. The Anglo-Zanzibar War was over almost as soon as it began. Section 7. The Aftermath, a reshaped Zanzibar. The aftermath of the war saw the installation of a pro-British Sultan in Zanzibar, cementing British control over the island. Khalid bin Bargash, granted asylum by the Germans, lived in exile for many years. The war, though brief, had lasting consequences. It solidified British dominance in East Africa and highlighted the vast disparity in military power between European empires and smaller nations. For Zanzibar, it marked the end of its independence and the beginning of a new era as a British protectorate. Section 8, a curious footnote in history. The Anglo-Zanzibar War, with its almost comical brevity, might seem like a trivial event, yet it stands as a stark reminder of the brutal realities of colonialism and the often unequal power dynamics that shaped our world. Today, the war is a curious footnote in history, a story often recounted with a mix of amusement and disbelief. It serves as a reminder that even the shortest conflicts can have far-reaching consequences, shaping the destinies of nations and leaving an indelible mark on the course of history.